Rome is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, with a history that stretches back over 2,700 years. According to legend, it was founded in 753 BCE by Romulus, and from a small settlement, it grew into one of the most powerful civilizations in human history. Rome became the center of the Roman Republic and later the Roman Empire, which ruled vast territories across Europe, North Africa, and parts of Asia. The Roman Empire shaped the foundations of the modern Western world. Roman contributions to law, governance, engineering, architecture, and military organization continue to influence societies today. The idea of a republic, legal principles such as equality before the law, and systems of roads and public buildings were all developed or perfected by the Romans. Even the Latin language, spoken in ancient Rome, became the base for many modern languages like Italian, Spanish, French, and much of English vocabulary. Geographically, Rome is located in the central part of the Italian peninsula, along the Tiber River, about 24 kilometers from the Tyrrhenian Sea. This location helped it grow as a trade and political center. The river provided water, transport, and natural protection, allowing Rome to expand economically and militarily. After centuries of power, the Roman Empire eventually declined due to invasions, internal conflicts, and economic troubles. During the Middle Ages, Rome suffered great damage. Many buildings fell into ruin, the population dropped drastically, and the city lost much of its political power. However, Rome never completely faded into obscurity. Even in decline, it remained powerful as an idea, a symbol of law, order, civilization, and greatness. Rome's importance was preserved largely because it became the spiritual center of Christianity. It is home to Vatican City, the smallest independent country in the world, and the residence of the Pope, the leader of the Roman Catholic Church. For centuries, Rome attracted pilgrims from all over the world, giving it religious authority even when its political strength weakened. Despite periods of instability, the city remained central to European religious life. During the Renaissance, Rome experienced a remarkable revival. Popes and wealthy patrons invested heavily in art, architecture, and education. This period transformed Rome into a center of creativity and learning. Artists such as Michelangelo, Raphael, and Bernini created masterpieces that still define Western art today. Buildings like St. Peter's Basilica and the Sistine Chapel reflect the city's renewed cultural power. Modern Rome is both a political capital and a living museum. It is the capital of Italy and the Lazio region, housing government institutions, universities, and cultural centers. At the same time, ancient ruins stand side by side with modern life. People commute past the Colosseum, relax near the Roman Forum, and gather around fountains built centuries ago. Rome is also famous for its fascinating and unique features. The city has over 900 churches, more than any other city in the world. Many of its ancient aqueducts still function today, supplying fresh water, proof of Roman engineering brilliance. Another unusual feature is that cats are legally protected in Rome and are often seen living freely among ancient ruins. One of the most famous traditions in Rome involves the Trevi Fountain, where visitors throw coins over their shoulders for good luck. Every year, coins worth nearly 1 million euros are collected and donated to charity. The saying, "all roads lead to Rome," comes from the vast Roman road network, many parts of which are still in use today. Even the calendar we use and the names of several months are influenced by Roman systems, reminding us that Rome's impact continues in our everyday lives. The relationship between Shakespeare and Rome is mainly literary and cultural, not personal. Rome deeply influenced Shakespeare's themes, characters, and political ideas, and many of his plays are set in or shaped by Roman history. Shakespeare never visited Rome, but he knew it well through classical sources, especially Plutarch's Lives, translated into English by Thomas North, Livy, Ovid, and Virgil. For Renaissance writers, Rome symbolized power, law, empire, honor, and political conflict, and Shakespeare used it as a stage to explore serious questions about leadership, morality, ambition, and loyalty. Several of Shakespeare's major tragedies are Roman plays. Julius Caesar focuses on the fall of a great leader, and the conflict between personal ambition and republican ideals. Antony and Cleopatra contrasts Roman discipline and duty with Egyptian passion and emotion, showing Rome as a world of order, military strength, and political control. Coriolanus examines pride, class conflict, and the tension between the individual and the state in early Roman society. In all these plays, Rome represents public life, political responsibility, and civic duty, often in contrast to personal desire. Rome also influenced Shakespeare's language and style. His Roman characters speak in a more formal, rhetorical, and controlled manner, reflecting Roman ideals of oratory and public speech. Famous speeches like Mark Antony's funeral oration show Shakespeare's admiration for Roman rhetoric. Overall, Rome provided Shakespeare with a powerful historical and symbolic setting. Through Rome, Shakespeare explored timeless human conflicts, power versus ethics, emotion versus duty, and the rise and fall of empires. Rome was not just a background for his plays, it was a lens through which he examined human nature and political life. Roman leader and Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, and how their passionate love leads to political downfall and personal tragedy. Historical and political background. After the assassination of Julius Caesar, Rome was ruled by the Second Triumvirate, Mark Antony, Octavius Caesar, and Lepidus. Antony governs the eastern provinces of the Roman Empire, while Octavius controls the west. Antony's political responsibility clashes with his emotional involvement with Cleopatra in Egypt. Rome represents order, discipline, reason, and duty, while Egypt symbolizes pleasure, passion, luxury, and emotional freedom. Antony's inner conflict. Mark Antony is torn between his role as a Roman soldier and statesman and his identity as Cleopatra's lover. In Rome, Antony is expected to show self-control and loyalty to the state, but in Egypt, he indulges in love and pleasure. His inability to balance these two worlds leads to his decline. Antony's tragic flaw is his excessive passion, which causes him to neglect political responsibilities and make poor strategic decisions, such as following Cleopatra's fleet during the Battle of Actium. Cleopatra's character. Cleopatra is one of Shakespeare's most complex female characters. She is intelligent, manipulative, emotional, and charismatic, unlike Roman women. Cleopatra exercises political and sexual power. She represents freedom, individuality, and emotional richness. Cleopatra's love for Antony is genuine, but it is also tied to her political survival. She uses performance, mood changes, and language as tools of power, making her both fascinating and dangerous. Conflict between Rome and Egypt. The play constantly contrasts Rome and Egypt. Rome values honor, discipline, war, and political order, while Egypt values sensuality, art, pleasure, and emotion. This opposition is reflected in the characters. Octavius is cold, rational, and calculating, while Antony is impulsive and emotional when with Cleopatra. Shakespeare does not present one world as entirely superior. Instead, he shows the limitations of both. War and downfall. Antony's military failures mark his tragic fall. His decision to fight at sea, influenced by Cleopatra, leads to defeat at Actium. Misled by false news of Cleopatra's death, Antony attempts suicide. Though he fails at first, he dies in Cleopatra's arms, regaining a sense of Roman honor through his final act. Cleopatra's death and triumph. After Antony's death, Cleopatra refuses to be paraded as a trophy by Octavius. Choosing death over humiliation, she commits suicide using an asp, symbolizing dignity and control. In death, Cleopatra achieves a kind of victory, transforming defeat into triumph. Mark Antony, character sketch. Mark Antony is the tragic hero of Antony and Cleopatra and one of Shakespeare's most complex characters. He is a great Roman general, a member of the Second Triumvirate, and once a symbol of Roman honor and military excellence. However, his identity is deeply divided between his public duty as a Roman leader and his private life as Cleopatra's lover. As a soldier, Antony is brave, experienced, and respected. He has a glorious past and is known for his courage and generosity. Yet, unlike Octavius Caesar, Antony is impulsive, emotional, and pleasure-loving. In Egypt, he abandons Roman discipline and indulges in luxury and passion, which causes Rome to see him as irresponsible and weakened. Antony's tragic flaw is his overwhelming passion, especially his love for Cleopatra. This passion clouds his judgment and leads to disastrous decisions, such as fighting at sea against better advice and following Cleopatra during the Battle of Actium. These choices result in military defeat and loss of political power. Despite his failures, Antony remains noble at heart. He is capable of deep loyalty, generosity, and self-awareness. When he believes Cleopatra has betrayed him, he reacts with despair rather than cruelty. Later, when he hears of her supposed death, Antony attempts suicide to preserve his Roman honor. Though his attempt is clumsy, his intention reflects his desire to die nobly. In his final moments, Antony regains his dignity and heroic stature. Dying in Cleopatra's arms, he reclaims his identity as a Roman warrior, blending love and honor. His death marks the tragic end of a man who could not reconcile reason with passion, Rome with Egypt. Octavia is the sister of Octavius Caesar and the wife of Mark Antony, married for political peace rather than love. She represents the ideal Roman woman, gentle, obedient, modest, and dignified. Octavia is calm and restrained, avoiding emotional display. Despite being neglected by Antony, she remains loyal and patient. Shakespeare uses Octavia as a contrast to Cleopatra. While Cleopatra is passionate and dominant, Octavia is silent and submissive. Through Octavia, Shakespeare shows the limitations of political marriages and the human cost of Roman duty. Octavius Caesar, character sketch. Octavius Caesar represents Roman order, discipline, and political intelligence. He is calm, calculating, and highly strategic. Unlike Antony, Caesar places state above emotion and personal relationships. Caesar exploits Antony's weaknesses to gain power and ultimately becomes the ruler of Rome. Though politically successful, Caesar lacks emotional depth, imagination, and warmth. Shakespeare presents him as efficient but morally limited, strong in authority but weak in humanity. Ventidius, character sketch. Ventidius is a loyal Roman general serving under Antony. He is intelligent, cautious, and practical. Ventidius successfully defeats Parthian forces but deliberately avoids winning too much glory, fearing it might offend Antony. His character represents Roman discipline and political wisdom. Ventidius understands the dangers of ambition and shows how loyalty and restraint are valued in Roman military culture. Enobarbus, character sketch. Enobarbus is Antony's close friend and follower, known for his honesty, wit, and realism. He provides some of the play's most memorable descriptions, especially of Cleopatra's beauty and charm. Enobarbus understands Antony's weaknesses and openly criticizes his poor decisions. When Antony's power declines, Enobarbus deserts him, choosing logic over loyalty. However, guilt overwhelms him, and he dies of remorse. Enobarbus represents the conflict between practical judgment and moral loyalty, highlighting the emotional cost of betrayal. Charmian, character sketch. Charmian is Cleopatra's loyal attendant and confidant. She is intelligent, humorous, and devoted to her queen. Charmian supports Cleopatra emotionally and advises her throughout the play. In the final act, Charmian chooses to die alongside Cleopatra, proving her absolute loyalty. Her death reinforces the theme of faithfulness and highlights the strong bonds of female companionship in Egypt. Conclusion. Through these characters, Shakespeare contrasts Rome and Egypt, reason and emotion, political power and personal passion. Antony and Cleopatra are grand but flawed figures, while Caesar represents stable authority. Minor characters like Ventidius, Enobarbus, and Charmian deepen the play's moral and emotional complexity. Themes in Antony and Cleopatra. 1. Love versus duty. The central conflict of the play. Antony is torn between his passionate love for Cleopatra and his political duty to Rome. His devotion to Cleopatra weakens his role as a Roman leader, showing how private desire clashes with public responsibility. 2. East versus West, Egypt versus Rome. Egypt represents pleasure, emotion, freedom, and luxury, while Rome stands for discipline, reason, order, and duty. Antony's tragedy lies in his inability to fully belong to either world. 3. Power and politics. The play shows how personal relationships affect political decisions. Alliances, marriages, Antony and Octavia, and betrayals reveal the fragile nature of political power in Rome. 4. Identity and self-conflict. Antony struggles with who he truly is, a Roman warrior or Cleopatra's lover. Cleopatra also performs different roles: queen, lover, manipulator, and martyr, highlighting the fluid nature of identity. 5. Honor and reputation. Roman characters value honor, masculinity, and public image. Antony's loss of honor in Rome contrasts with Egypt's celebration of emotional excess and grandeur. 6. Betrayal and loyalty. The play is filled with betrayals, real and imagined. Antony believes Cleopatra betrays him, while Enobarbus's betrayal of Antony deeply exposes the cost of broken loyalty. 7. Tragedy and the fall of the hero. Antony's downfall follows a tragic pattern: greatness undermined by personal weakness. His death marks the end of heroic Roman values. 8. Death and immortality. Both Antony and Cleopatra seek a noble, meaningful death. Cleopatra's suicide transforms her defeat into triumph, granting her symbolic immortality.